Hello, Aleftina.
Hello. Hello.
Okay, nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, I think we'll start in a couple of minutes. Just waiting for our participants to join us.
Fantastic festive background.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. And we are live in YouTube as well.
Yeah, I've seen the notice, so that's all right.
Okay, that's good.
Hi, ladies. If that's ladies only.
Mostly, yes. All right.
Shall I send you the presentation just in case I won't be able to show it?
Yeah. I'll make you a co-host. Just a second.
Okay.
Okay, you can share it now if you wish.
I will try. Can anybody see anything so far?
Not yet.
Not yet.
And you're frozen.
Am I?
Yeah.
Maybe that's because it's trying to do both. Show me and my fantastic presentation.
Okay, good.
Any better now?
Yeah, I think it would be better if you turn to the slides mode.
It won't. I was supposed to press S5, right? F5, no?
Try to switch it on, off, and then switch it on again. Sometimes it helps. Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
All right. Are we waiting for anybody else? Because I'm all set.
Yeah, so we have 13 participants, including us. Okay, let me just wait for one more minute, if you don't mind.
No, I don't. I'm all yours.
Okay. What's the weather like in Smolensk?
Well, yesterday it was all covered in ice, glazing, so everybody could enjoy a skating session if they wanted. Today it's a little better because it's snowed and there's some layer of snow, but it's still quite dangerous in terms of driving. Lots of accidents. Yeah.
Okay. The same in Moscow. It's absolutely slippery everywhere. So you have to be really careful not to fall down. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think it's the right time to start. I'll start the recording. So, dear colleagues, it's my pleasure to introduce, first of all, maybe Aleftina, you don't mind, our student of the Moscow International Academy Master Degree Program, and as well as the wonderful teacher and a writer, Aleftina Popova, who is going to introduce her book to us and maybe answer some questions related to teaching grammar through mimes, right?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. I'd like to start with a brief, introduction of you from your side, Aleftina. Could you tell us a little bit about your teaching experience and your experience of being an author, which is supposed to be quite new for you, as I understand?
Sure. All right. First of all, I always introduce myself as a language school CEO and founder. In fact, I'm a co-founder. When we graduated from Smolensk Teacher Training University, me and a friend, we decided that we were too afraid not to be hired and started our own school. By then, I'd already done some teaching. I had 2.5 years experience. And besides, I'm a third-generation language teacher. My grandfather had graduated from the same university, and then my mother did, and so did I. I run a language school still, and I do about 30 hours of teaching a week. I love speaking about teaching and learning and bilingualism and education in general and small business, because that's what I am. In March last year, I enrolled on a writer's course, and this has been so far one of the best decisions that I've made this year. I came with nothing. I just wanted to write. And it turned out that I could come up with a great idea that could summarize some of my experience and the approach that I try to enhance. And that is, if your learning doesn't spark joy, it probably won't be very effective. And I have drawn up a plan how to turn my passion into a useful grammar and entertaining book. And well, there we are. Here's the book. Let me introduce. I will have to give you the Russian version because it means something to me. And it all started with a single meme. To the question, do you speak English? Still, a lot of people answer, yes, Libya. And I think it is my mission to make as many people bilingual, at least partially bilingual, so that they can finally say, естественно, the same question, or ideally, of course. So here is a brief summary of the accumulated material on the topic, and an introduction to my method, how to teach grammar through memes. To cut the longest story short, I'm happy to introduce the method to you, and you're welcome to ask whatever questions you have.
Alexin, do you mind that participants ask you questions through you talking and or after your talk?
It doesn't matter.
Okay,
doesn't matter. Whenever they feel like asking questions, because
okay.
if you're bursting with a question, you just have to ask it, and I understand that it means they are really into the topic, so I will be glad to answer. So whenever you feel like asking questions, please go ahead.
Okay, great. Mm-hmm. Regarding the format, would you deliver your presentation and then I'll ask you some questions, or it's just an interview format? What would you find more comfortable?
Whatever is convenient. I've prepared only a few slides,
okay.
So they are mostly to give a brief description of what it is about and what I believe might be interesting to my colleagues. Not only in English, it's a method that you can use in any language teaching, and in fact in quite a lot of other subjects as well, because it reveals the nature of the term meme and what it is for and how it can help. Because most people think of a meme as just a picture on the internet, and it's not so. When you see a formula, it's a meme. When you talk about manners, that's memes. When you talk about different structures in the language, they are all memes. And it will be a grave mistake not to take into consideration something that is inherently already part of education. It's just that in a lot of cases, most students will arrive at their conclusions themselves, sometimes guided by the teacher, but most frequently they will struggle with the meaning unless they stumble upon something very quickly. And this becomes their meme. Well, what is a meme? A meme is a piece of culture that spreads throughout the nation and sometimes worldwide. Sometimes it has got a smaller circulation, so not so many people may recognize some insider memes, some insider jokes, but they will be very meaningful to the group of people that use them. So we take a situation that is reflected somehow in the culture. Sometimes it's behavior, sometimes it is written text, sometimes it is picture. So there are lots of ways to express reality. It's made of tiny pieces, and these tiny pieces are memes. Well, powerful tool. It's one of my favorites because it was one of the first in my collection. And when I saw it, I immediately realized what it told me. This lady sleeping on the bench was probably me when I had a plan to do something that I hadn't prepared. It's like hiding using Marie Kondo method when on Friday night you make a solemn decision that you're going to tidy the whole house. And then on Friday, that's how you feel. You decide that, well, maybe it's not this weekend that you should use to finally implement this fantastic method. So this is a great meaning for the structure going to that sometimes students confuse with, for example, present continuous. And if they grasp, if they share the same vision I have of the meaning, they will also be able to reproduce the structure easily when they think of this picture. This is just one of the memes. So we can see that sometimes we explain the formula and we translate it, and every time the translation is different. When we take each sentence, whether it is going to, and there is something afterwards, the translation will be different, but the meaning will be the same. And this is something that a lot of students miss at the beginning, at least. They don't see the connection between the sentences, and as a result, do not have a common meaning. And when we give a definition of the tense or a definition how to use a structure, unfortunately, it doesn't always work. We need to find a powerful something that will spark this interest, spark this understanding. And as a result, students will feel more comfortable using new structure because it will stop being new. It will be, sometimes it will be a revelation. They will say, wow, that's what it means. After you just explained it, I don't know, 100 times, 1,000 times sometimes. I cannot see anybody because either I'm showing and operating the presentation, or I see you guys. So give me a sign that you are still there.
Okay. So, dear colleagues, could you just turn on your cameras if you can? Just we have only one participant with the camera on right now. So, if it's possible, can you turn your cameras? They are listening to you,
you can wave to me. You can say hi. You can somehow give me a sign that you are there, because I'll be switching on the conference and going back to the presentation, unless you people have some questions already.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One more person with the camera on.
Okay. Hi, Maria. Hi. Not see the other person's name. Marina, maybe. Okay. So far, so good, I suppose. Yes, please go ahead.
Actually, I wanted to ask you a question. How did you come up with the idea of using memes in your teaching? So was it a kind of big decision, or it happened unexpectedly?
I have always tried to make the learning fun. Like I said, if it is not fun, it turns into work. And as we know, making people work is getting harder and harder. So whenever we want people to learn something, there are two ways. Either they feel the necessity, that's how it happens with the mother tongue, or they feel that they love it. So through enjoyment and doing it while doing something that they love doing. And as a result, I've always had different activities, games, stories, jokes, pictures, and so on. But I didn't know that I was giving them triggers, that I was creating a picture in their mind that will later be a reference, that they will later be able to go to if they need a meaning. So I will be able to just wink at them and say, people, we've talked about that. And they say, yeah, we have talked about that. Yeah, we remember now. And then they will remember the structure. But to be perfectly honest, it didn't come to me as a theory and as a method until I read the book by Maxim Ilyachov, where he explains that unless something has a name that you associate with this something, an object, a phenomenon, a person, a structure, it doesn't exist. Well, it doesn't really exist because because it is elusive. It escapes you. The meaning escapes you. And if you think of some different feelings that sometimes possess you, say, I can't describe it. I can't give it a name. As long as it doesn't have a name, you can't really discuss it. You can't explain to other people what it is. You can't later refer to it as something that everybody understands. And it means that the names that we have, somebody has chosen for tenses, for example, or for different structures, unfortunately don't work. Oftentimes, they do not say anything to the students. And it means that we need to come up with a better name. And maybe a better name for go into structure, not to say go into, maybe maybe it will be a better name. Maybe they will come up with just one word. Стоят. I don't know. And for different people, it will work differently. But you as the leader of a group, as the teacher, as a mentor, you can give this process some direction. And insisting on using a new name that has triggered everybody, that has given everybody a clear picture of the meaning, you may later create this connection between the new name, between the picture, between the meaning and the structure. And as a result, your students will eventually come up with their own ideas with more examples of the same. And although initially you might create a name for them, later they may come up with a better name. And this may be something that you will all gladly use further on. I've had a student who struggled with present continuous until at some point, she decided that every time she had to say present continuous, she had to add the word now. And eventually we decided that I said now, and she would use present continuous miraculously, because for her the word now started to symbolize the structure. So now it is the now tense for her. There's no present continuous for her. It's the now tense. And the name worked. As soon as she got the name, she started using it more freely, more easily. All right.
Sorry, do you have the names for other tenses?
I do. In fact, every chapter in the book has a meme or a famous saying or a phrase that might symbolize at least one of the meanings. If you guys wish, you can write to me and I will send you a link to a chapter of the book. You will be welcome to comment on it and look at the titles of all of the chapters. Like, for example, the chapter about past perfect is called «Показали последние события, предпоследние были лучше». For example, or if we talk about future simple, since there are so many meanings, each of the chapters, the sub chapters in the chapter will be entitled. Give me a second, I have to plug in the laptop, otherwise you'll lose me. I'm back with you.
Yep.
All right. So one of the chapters about future simple is called "I'll be back." If you're my age or so, you definitely know. And even if you are much younger, this is the only phrase from Terminator that everybody knows. Everybody. There's another one about predictions, which is called "Всё будет horror-show." And again, when you reflect on it, it may be funny to you, it may be funny to me, it may not be funny to your audience. Because this is one of the factors that you have to take into consideration. Your students do not share your background, your cultural background, your intellectual background, your educational background, your national background. There are lots of backgrounds that we may not share. Or we may share, and then we're lucky, we're in luck, because then we will have a similar pool of ideas get from. And you may have noticed that I have used both Russian and English memes and phrases to use as names for tenses. What I'm trying to say is that it doesn't matter what language you use. It doesn't really matter because what we need is a meaning. And unless there is something in your experience that you can refer to, there is something that, that has a story behind it, you will not be able to use it. You may have seen bilingual children who, and sometimes monolingual children who are just learning to use their mother tongue, and they will use a verb or a noun or some other form wrong. And it will be funny. Everybody will laugh their head off because they will think that the child has come up with the joke of the year. But they have done everything well. They have referred to the pool of knowledge they already have. And they have produced a structure that follows the rule. They have a meaning, they have a formula, they put it together, they created something that grown-ups are laughing at. And it happens to the grown-ups as well who are learning a foreign language. But it's our job to find something that they already know. I don't have to explain that you cannot teach something completely new if you do not rely, if you do not lean on something that students already know well. When introducing grammar, you have to use well-known vocabulary. When talking of new words, ideally, there shouldn't be anything new grammatically. And it applies to anything new. When you are trying to teach, you have to give students ideas about what it is. And if they have never seen, I don't know what it is. Okay, another example about something that people may never have seen. I may have mentioned it that my children are both bilingual, and my older son, who is now 15, started very early, aged, well, he wasn't even 2 years old. And different stages in our life, it was discovered that he didn't know some words in Russian, which he knew in English, and vice versa. And like, for example, I told him his soup or his porridge was not salty enough. So I told him, take a pinch of salt. And he asked me, where's the pinch? He didn't know what a pinch was. I said, no, щепотка. And it turned out that he didn't know that word either. And I had to show him what it was. Unless you show people what it is, unless you find something in their experience that they can lean on, it will be pointless. You can talk your head off, and you will not be able to explain. That's when we repeat again and again. It's a tense that, well, it's an action that started in the past and has been going on for a long time and maybe still going on. How can you explain to a student the difference between всю жизнь хочу на Майорку поехать и всегда хотела на Майорку поехать? As grown-ups, can you see this difference? You may feel it, but to explain, it will take a while to explain, especially if it is a foreigner, because the action behind it will be identical or nearly identical. So looking for things, these little pieces of culture that will mean something, and then adding them to the structure that you're trying to explain, that's what it is all about. And it doesn't matter whether it is in Russian or in English. All right, let's move on to the next slide. How to choose. I have already mentioned a couple. And one of the important things to remember is that, unfortunately, we will not be able to find the best means for the younger generation, unless you are the younger generation, unfortunately. Unless you do exactly what they do. That's why when teaching teenagers, for example, or young adults, you will have to resort to the measures that will be clear and understood by all. There are values that are still important. There are situations that will make everybody laugh. Otherwise, comedies wouldn't be funny. And there are situations that make everybody cry. There are situations that make everybody's heart go out to you and touch their heartstrings. So if you find such situations that mean something to everyone, it will work for any age group. However, if you would like to be really effective and spark an interest at the start, you will have to go into the youth culture and find something there that will also help you make them see that they can look for triggers, they can look for memes, they can look for meaningful pieces of culture themselves. So when choosing a meme, you have to probe the ground, right? So before jumping in the water, you will have to maybe introduce some cultural information, giving culture note. Like you can ask them, do you know this actress, or have you seen this film? And they say, it will not work. It will take you ages to explain. And then you will have to think of something else. That's why in the book, I come up with 5 or 6 ideas for each grammar phenomenon, so that you have got a wider choice for different generations. Although I have to admit that the book is meant at people who are at least 16 years old, ideally 25 plus, to have a similar background. They were my target audience when I started writing, so the book is mainly aimed at them. So whether the meme will work or not will depend a lot on what kind of students you have. And since normally it's not the first time you see them when you start teaching, you will probably be able to know what they like, what kind of hobbies they have, where they come from, and so on. Where it is appropriate to speak about stereotypes, different nationality stereotypes, and so on. So yeah, and sometimes they will come up with ideas that you will later use with other groups, because they will provide funny stories, they will give you jokes that you may not have heard, because you live in a different world, in a different time. Right, any questions so far?
Yeah, so there is a comment, first of all, in the chat. So Maria Saikina just says, the approach you are introducing now seems to be really effective as guided discovery method applied by CELTA teachers, and that's awesome.
Well,
right.
Thank you.
My question is, when you combine both languages, Russian and English, so actually, again, why did you combine them? My first question, right? So does each interpretation of the meme helps each other? Is it the idea like that?
As far as I understood, you'd like to know, within one grammar phenomenon, do the memes support each other?
Yes.
Some do, others don't. Because the more various the contexts are, the more chances that they will resonate with somebody in your audience. Because sometimes you will only need one meme, and sometimes you need 100. Because they may not be something your students understand, something that your students find in their experience. And although normally I will give a title, the chapter, thinking that this may be a good and effective name, and I have to say that I do believe that the names of chapters match at least some of the meanings of the grammar phenomenon, right? So if we talk of future simple, for example, there are several meanings: offers, predictions, promises, and so on. So there will be promises in each of the sub chapters, but they may come from different areas. Promises to other people, promises to yourself, promises we keep, promises we break. Stories to support that it's important to keep promises, and jokes that show that there are so many jokes that we easily break promises, and so on. So each of them supports the meaning, but not necessarily are linked to each other. So like, it's not a succession of memes about the same topic.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Right. Will you briefly outline which each chapter is about in your book?
Since the book is about tenses, there are 2 parts. The first part is my vision. It's my vision of the theory of memes, how to implement it through your language teaching, and how students who are studying independently can use it. How can students use that? And part 2 is divided into 3 sections: the present, the future, and the past. And each of the chapters is divided into meanings. So, for example, in the present group, there are 3 or 4 meanings for present simple, 3 or 4 meanings for present continuous, and 1 meaning for present perfect or present perfect continuous, because they refer to something that people do in the present. So it is more relatable to the Russian vision of the present rather than the English only vision. For example, I do not speak there about timetables, where we speak of programs. For example, what time does the film start? It's not there because it is about the future. And in fact, it's not in the future chapter, in the future part either. So maybe I will later finish writing that part. And in the future group, we will have future simple, future continuous, future perfect, present continuous, and go into. So they will each give a title, a heading, to a subtitle, a subchapter inside the chapter. And inside this subchapter, there will be several examples that help you practice, help you use them as pret-à-porter decisions, right? Solutions for your classes, or they will give you ideas how you can search for similar memes, similar stories, similar puzzles, and so on. Because there are different genres that I try to use in each of the chapters. There will be true stories. Well, some of them are not so true, well, not at least about me. So not all of the stories there are about me. Even if they are funny and I say me, it's not always me. There are jokes, there are lateral thinking puzzles, and I hope you know those because I love lateral thinking puzzles. And there are a few books I have of them. Nobody ever asks me to solve puzzles. I am the one asking questions. There are culture notes, there are songs. What else? Well, memes themselves. So each chapter has got that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Aleftina. I have another question. Maybe if somebody else has their questions, you're welcome. My next question is, who is the target reader of your book? Is it just a teacher or a student? What age group?
Ideally, 25 plus, but anybody who's 16 and above will probably be able to relate to most of the stuff there. But since I refer to ideas in my world, it will be ideal to people who are in their late 20s and older, so that they can understand each of the situations there. Because there are topics like looking for a job, getting married, getting divorced, losing money, making money, health issues, and so on. So it's something that younger students normally do not think about much. Or they seem to be the forbidden ground, the ones that they don't want to discuss. It can be used by both learners and teachers. And in my beta reading group, I have had everyone, people who have started recently. I have to admit that they read the book for fun, because there are a lot of really cool life hacks there. So if you like life hacks, you will find lots of them there, not related to language learning, not necessarily related to language learning, but it is mostly aimed at students who have achieved at least a pre-intermediate level, where they are already familiar with all or most of the tenses, so that they can benefit from each of the subchapters, understanding what it is all about and being familiar with the structures. Because I do not give the forms there. I do not speak about the structures there, not a single table. And I've done it intentionally because I think everybody is sick and tired of seeing the tables of tenses. And although I give examples and I highlight in the tenses so that they draw attention, but I don't give the rules how to form them. So it has to be somebody who is quite well versed in the basics of the language.
Okay, thank you, Aleftina. And let's take to some practical considerations regarding your book. If we address students, potential students, possible students, what's the best approach to deal with the book? Can they use it as a self-study book, or what do you recommend doing? So if they start reading the book, should they read the whole book or chapter by chapter carefully? And so what would you recommend?
Again, ideally, I would definitely recommend it. Reading sub-chapter by sub-chapter. Because when you study with a course book in the classroom, you do not give them ideas from different areas simultaneously, right? They will take one grammar structure at a time, and then maybe a comparison of 2 or 3 structures. It means that they have enough, well, the authors of the book believe that they have got enough practice to give them an understanding and comfortable usage of the structure, which does not necessarily happen, as we know. Some students who are very bright will find it enough. Others will find that they need more practice. And that's what I wanted to give students. That's why each chapter has got a minimum, each sub-chapter has got a minimum of 3 tasks where they can practically use their newly acquired skill, where they can see how to use it and immediately use it in everyday life. Like that will be time management, that will be being on a diet, that will be building a relationship with somebody, telling stories, making their existing stories more fun, and so on. So if you would like to get the most of the book, I would say that do chapter by chapter, task by task, in the order they are given.
Thank you. As for the teachers, so what benefits can teachers get from reading this book and using some of the, say, memes in the book you've written?
Only today, a colleague and a friend of mine texted to me. She hasn't read the book yet, but she has read the presentation about the course that I'm going to do for teachers based on the book. And she told me that she found it really time-consuming to look for memes, because she only thinks of memes as a picture or a video on the internet. So she was only looking for examples. And what we need is this piece of culture. And if you want some examples, there are plenty. If you would like to look for your own, you will understand the principle and you will be able to search more consciously. It's not that 10 minutes before the class, you will go on Pinterest and say, okay, I'm looking for example of present perfect. You will find plenty. However, they may not illustrate the topic you need. So I've got a life hack that you may want to use. It's a life hack from a totally different area. I believe that now you are busy not only listening to me talking on YouTube, but also wishing everybody Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, right? And more often than not, you are probably short of presents. So here's the life hack. If you have a box that says gifts and you fill it throughout the year with different things that you find on sales that people give you as a gift and you don't want it, then you open it and it is full of ideas what to give your colleagues as gifts. You can do identical things with your grammar boxes. It's just that when you don't know when you will run into a fantastic meme, into a fantastic story, into a great picture, into infographics, that where you say, yeah, that's exactly what I need. So you will need to create such a box where you put things based on topic or based on, I don't know, lexically, up to you. It's up to you, whatever is convenient for you. And then you will be able to find them easily. You cannot find them at the click of the fingers. You can use the book. There are lots. You may find them very useful and they may work for your students, and you may not need to search any further. If you don't, you can follow the life hack and make your own storage of ideas that you can later give freely to your students and to colleagues to share.
Okay, thank you. Does the book contain any exercises?
Kids, be quiet. Sorry.
So I repeat my question. Does the book contain any exercises?
Does tasks. It contains tasks, and each task is practical. Each task is practical, where they will be able to find things that they do every day anyway, and they will be able to do it in English. If the student is consciously looking, for something to do in English, there are plenty of ideas.
Can you give an example of the exercise you're talking about?
Sure. Is anybody on a diet? Well, raise your hand if you are. Have ever been. If you have ever been. Not the best time for dieting, right? It's a great task to practice present perfect. If you have got an app on the telephone, I do. Well, I have made a New Year resolution to use it every day. So follow me for weight loss advice. Well, anyway, if you put things on your app that you have eaten, you can comment each of this, each piece that goes in your mouth in present perfect. You can say, so far, I have eaten a lettuce leaf, which makes like 5 calories. So far, I have eaten, and so on. This gives the students the idea that present perfect is something that can change. It's something that is not final. I mean, when you have finished eating, right, for the day, at 6 o'clock, you say, no, I'm not eating anymore. I've had enough. Then at 9, you make another comment. I do papiu barsha, right? It can still change. It can still change. And this is something that students find difficult to grasp at the beginning, that the difference between present perfect and simple. Simple cannot change, but present perfect can. And as a result, when they add ideas to the list, and they say, I have eaten 100 calories, I've eaten 200 calories, I've eaten 400 calories, and so on, they may get the drill that will later help them use the structure on other contexts as well.
Okay, interesting, right? Maybe if it's okay if I ask you for another example for a different tense, because they when explain the tasks and what students or teachers are supposed to do, I believe it's more understandable for me personally. Yeah. So maybe our listeners will be as well happy if you provide a few more examples.
Sure. Here's another one. It's again, this is a magic time, Christmas, pre-Christmas, New Year, and so on, when a lot of people make New Year's resolution. Right? And there are 2 ways you can go. If you want them practice future simple, you go for promises and you say, you know what? You have to treat yourself like a loved one. Your loved one, when you get married, you say, I will love and cherish you through good times, through good bad times, and so on. You can tell them to make a similar New Year's resolution for yourself. And they will make promises. Alternatively, you can make a bucket list together for the next year or till the end of their life. And again, you will explain to them that a bucket list is not something final. You can have a revised edition in a few months if they understand that they have already done everything. But for now, here's what we are going to do. And again, when talking of going to, we know that it's not final. Their plans may change. Like they may say, I'm going to charge, I don't know, 5,000 rubles for my class for a teacher, right? For example, but then they say, who will pay 5,000 rubles for my class? I'm not using memes in my class. Nobody will want to pay me. So maybe I'm going to start using memes in class and people will want to pay me more. So go into, here is another one. If we want something for a topical for the last class this year.
Okay, thank you. That sounds really interesting. So, dear colleagues, you might have some questions, so don't hesitate to ask the author of this wonderful book.
Honestly, I've got plenty of them. First of all,
Right.
thanks for the comments given by Maria, okay, and for the questions asked by you, Evgeny Vladimirovich. Plenty of them, not only about grammatical aspects, but about all the others. But I would just ask you a couple of them. Number one, where can we purchase the book? Okay. And the second question would be, what is the title of your next book?
All right. Well, I'm delighted that you asked me that. There are a few ways to buy the book. First, you can always contact me and get a copy, but not right now. This method will not be possible because I have sold out the first circulation, and unfortunately the publishing house is really busy. They were supposed to send the books to me yesterday. They haven't, right? Let's hope it changes in present perfect. So I will soon have the books, and they may be a little cheaper than the shops, because at the moment the books are available on Ozon and on Wildberries, but they are a bit pricier than, for example, in our local shop, where I have provided them with some copies. If you search through the title, you will find it easily. At least that's what I have done. You'll be able to purchase the books there, and of course you can make a pre-order. The second question about the title of the next book, for now the working title is Sequel. Sequel, because it contains more complex grammar samples. I would like to make a book for somebody who is just starting, and I have got some material for people who are just starting. Problem is that if we search for meaningful and emotionally charged memes, they will have complex stuff. That's why I'm still in search for ideas that will be both very simple and have a very powerful message. Something that will be reflected in infographics or in very simple sentences. Sometimes the ideas that we need to teach are very, very, very easy, very simple, very understandable, because they're easily relatable to Russian. Like, do you know a good piece of advice for your eyes? If you have got tired eyes, you can use this with very well, it's not complete beginners, like early beginners. Close your eyes, sleep. You have just taught imperatives. So I'm still searching. I have got less material for the book that will be a prequel. So sequel is on its way. I'm halfway through, but the prequel one is still in the project rather than in the.
That's what I mean. It's not only about the grammar. It's about speaking skills. It's about working with the vocabulary and many other things. And even here, I'm thinking about, why do not we work with the translation, aspect? That would be interesting as well.
We should. I'm not somebody who minds translation very much. I don't. If I see that it will work better than explaining for half an hour, and sometimes it's worth it explaining for half an hour, and sometimes it isn't. And when you know your audience, your students, you will be able to feel when you have to just translate one word, move on, because this is something that we will never use. On the other hand, I don't think there is any point in explaining objects that are easily available. I hate it when there are cards that say яблоко, apple. I mean, who are these cards aimed at? People who don't recognize the object. Are they for English students? Are they for Russians? Who are they for? Unless you are teaching
meaning
Russian
is a little bit different.
Russian
Sorry
words.
for interrupting you. My meaning is a little bit different. I'm talking about
okay.
the translational, about translation aspects from the point of view of the theory. How would translators, bring it, from one language into another, and what ways of translation they should use, and it's a different thing, so you can use memes not only, for grammatical purposes, but also for teaching or studying English for specific purposes,
I'm not sure I quite see what you mean by the translation approach then. Can you give me an example?
Like, for example, if we take some memes published in English, okay, with the realities which are characteristic of the English culture, how would you transfer them from English into Russian? And that's another topic for study, for the students who are prepared, being translators and interpreters.
Fantastic, because this is what the approach is about, to find equivalence. And sometimes equivalents are not translations at all.
Sometimes they do not exist. That's true. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you have seen a very recent translation of Любовь и голуби, that episode about Tuchka Krashina. Remember that episode, right? How is it translated? This is bullshit. I mean, pardon my French, but it's not funny. It's not funny at all. It's not. And that's what happens if you try to translate. Well, I wonder if sometimes you watch a movie and you don't have a clue what they're trying to say, because they have tried to translate a structure and everybody is laughing in the background, but nobody's laughing in your classroom, even if they understand very well, right? They will not be able to get the idea. That's why looking for equivalence, that's what I'm trying to explain. You need to find an equivalence that will mean something. And sometimes it will be totally different. I have got an acquaintance, she translates books. And I had a talk about meaning, right? What we think and what we say, right? The relationship between what we say and what we understand and our cognitive processes. And she said that it's a bit of fluke, a piece of luck for a translator to find a great equivalent. I wonder if you are fans of Alice in Wonderland, but it's been such a challenge for translators, and the ones who stumbled upon a great way to interpret that into Russian, they're the ones who are remembered. You probably know that there is no at уксуса куксится in the English version, nor any of the others. There is a totally different principle, totally different. But somebody managed, it was a woman, I forgot her family name, this was a great piece. I don't think that the rest of it was just as great. But thanks to this, she will always be remembered. She found equivalence that rang a bell. Mm-hmm.
Alexina, there is a question from the chat, from Maria Saikina. If the student has no clue what meme means, does the book provide explanation?
Well, I do not translate or explain most of the memes, because if they do not ring a bell, it's not worth explaining it in half a page. However, sometimes to make sure that the meme means something, I give a culture note. Does anybody know the term shotgun? I learned it when I was in America, a camp counselor in the American camp for girls. But since all the camp counselors, camp leaders were young people, of course, we wanted to spend some time together. So everybody wanted to go shotgun in the front seat, right? In the front seat. And there is a meme there about somebody being arrested, where being drunk or whatever, or maybe stunned, I don't know, he insists on going shotgun just because he yelled shotgun at the start. It was possible. But sometimes it is based on play upon words, and that's really challenging. If you really come across an idiom or phraseology that is easy to translate, you're lucky. Like there are no unbearable people, there are narrow doors. If you translate, that will be relatable in Russian, easy. But that's a very rare occasion, right? Very rare occasion. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Dear colleagues, any more questions? You can type in the chat if you can't speak for some reason. Okay.
Well, if you would like more on memes, I have nearly finished the course on how to teach memes. Whoever is interested, I can send you the presentation for you to see whether you would like a peek.
That would be great.
Well, I'll be delighted if you decide to follow it, because when writing the book, I discovered that there are so many things that haven't been explored, at least in my world. I haven't found people who have explored the aspects that I would like to introduce, because it is such a fantastic tool. And unless we stop thinking of a meme as a funny picture, it will continue to be just an example. And that's not what we need. Examples are fine, examples are great. But apart from being examples, they can also help understanding. And that's why it's one of the reasons why the method will not work on people who are in their pre-teens and younger, because they do not want meaning. They want just the tool. And older people, thanks to their experience in the mother tongue, they will need to have something to rely on and understanding. They have got great experience in writing, in reading, in speaking, and so on. They have already got life experience. And for them, understanding what's going on is important. And that's why it's meant at people who are, well, 14 and above.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally,
I look forward to reading your final research paper, when you introduce the topic from the theoretical point of view, where you can classify the memes, where you can give recommendations on how to apply them in different aspects, that would be really great. Looking forward.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be delighted to do so. I'll be delighted, yes.
Yeah, I believe there is a good opportunity for cooperation between you and Moscow International Academy in terms of,
sure.
Of the course provision and some other aspects.
Mm-hmm. Well, colleagues, this is the last slide in the presentation. You can see my contacts. If you would like to get the presentation, you need to fill in a questionnaire on Google Forms. And I will see that you have done so. It will be your telephone number or your email address. I don't remember if both. I will be able to send you the presentation of the course so that you see if you would like to do it maybe. And I wonder if you can see the whole slide. I'll just remove it. You can also read a chapter in Google Docs. It's one of the chapters that is easily available. If you get really interested, I can send you another one that is not in wide circulation, so that you can familiarize yourself with that if you're interested.
Okay, it's great. I think it's really interesting. Moreover, Alexina, I know you are participating in a kind of contest could you give some details, because participants of the webinar and maybe our students may vote for you. Well,
fantastic, right. Since I started to promote the book myself, I decided not to go I've chosen the road less traveled, let's put it this way, and I have decided to publish the book myself. Although I had an offer from a publisher, it was not a very good offer. So I raised money in crowdfunding to publish the book. Now that it's out, it is also on Litres, and it is in the competition for new authors in non-fiction books. It is called, what's it called? Something about fact. All right, anyway, I can provide the link in our chat. And so far, there have been 2 stages. I have been chosen for the long list, and I have been chosen for the short list. The winners of the competition will be announced in January. By then, ideally, I should collect as many stars as possible and as many comments as possible on Litres. So if you like the chapter, or if you'd like to purchase the book and you read it and you think that it is useful and you would like to support me, I will really appreciate a star as a minimum, a star and a comment as a maximum on Litres. Again, it is easy to find, but I will send the link to you so that you can find it at one click of the mouse. Thank you for suggesting it.
Thank you very much. I suppose we will support you. Yes. Those who are listening to you right now, and if you place it in the chat, so we'll share. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll
Yeah,
appreciate
colleagues,
it.
do you have any questions to Aleftina? Because it's nearly the time for us to finish this fantastic live stream.
Well, thanks for inviting me to the talk then, and I was delighted to meet all of you in person. So if you feel that you haven't asked something that's been torturing you for a while, please do. If I can answer, of course, I will do my best to do so.
Okay, thank you
Just
very
the
much.
best of luck. Keep up keep the work up.
Thank
I
you
will
very
do my
much.
best.
Yes, thank you very much, Aleftina. So it's been really interesting, and I suppose some of the participants might change their approach to teaching grammar through memes. So thank you very much, and for your dedication, for what you are doing, and for your creative ideas. I think they will be really, really inspiring for many teachers and students as well. Thank you very much. And as it's just the time before the new year, our best wishes for the new year and for Christmas. We wish you good luck, good health, and good results in your studies in Moscow International Academy.
Thank you. Well, and may your New Year resolutions come true.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye everyone. Have a good day.
Goodbye. Goodbye.